We're going to go ahead and get started. Try to get you in and out of here on time the best we can. Appreciate you taking this opportunity to come in here and have our one-time annual parent meeting. It's been a couple years since we've gotten together in person to do it. If you're new, basically this is for grades 6 through 12. So if you're new to our building, my name is Jeremy Dexter. I'm the athletic director for grades 6 through 12 here in this building. And if you're working in our athletic office or going to our athletic office, you'll often be met by Jennifer Bales, who is our athletic administrative assistant. You'll hear from her today about some different things. She does an astronomical amount in the athletic office to make it possible for your athletes to participate. So if you get an opportunity to thank her for what she does, I'd greatly appreciate it. We also have throughout the year Justin Pelly helps us with different things, communication on the website, supervision for junior high athletic events. So a large part of what we do is possible with his help as well. You'll also hear today from Amber Kripe, who is our new athletic booster president. So again, we'll try to move through it, and if you have any questions at the end of it, any of us can answer those. Don't leave without, there'll be some cafeteria tables lined up with a bunch of sign-in sheets. Just pick a sign-in sheet, sign your name on it. We'll mark you off in final forms as having attended, so don't leave without doing that. Again, as we get started here, I want to recap just a little bit about last year, the events we had. As a former head coach, I used to tell our youth programs, our junior high, our youth teams, our junior high teams that the success of the high school teams, in every program, is what identifies the strength of a program. So, at the high school level, these are some of the accomplishments that our teams had. For the fourth consecutive year, we had a team make the state championship match or game in their sport, and won multiple sectional championships. We had 5 team conference championships. That doesn't include softball, who would win its own sectional. So, if you do the math on it, we're the second smallest school in the conference, and we won 28% of the conference championships, which is pretty remarkable for what we're accomplishing. And a lot of that is, again, due to not only our athletes, but it's not possible without your support. So, a couple things you'll see as you enter facilities this year that may be a little bit different is, this is year 6 for me. I think when I came in, we were putting a football press box in. The year before, they'd put a soccer press box in. In the 5 years prior here, we've put in a new track. We've put in a turf field. We've resurfaced the tennis courts. We have put in a new swimming pool. We've redone the gym floor. One thing that was missing, that was evident, was lights at our baseball and softball and soccer facilities. So as you enter those facilities this year, you'll see that we now have lights in those facilities. And then the windows in the softball, baseball press box were done, which I know a lot of you don't go in there, but from a game management perspective has been huge for us. So those are some things you'll see. For a couple years now, we've had a main gym camera where we stream athletic events on WeBoAthletics.com. It's called a Huddle camera. Our head coaches at the varsity level use Huddle as a video exchange site, and also they can clip and scout and show film through Huddle to their teams. And what the Huddle cameras allow is not only to stream to the public, but as a head coach, they can click one button and they can record their practices. Then they can go back through those, and they can go through it with their teams. And we've added one of those to the turf field, the track, out there. So now practices can be recorded. Soccer games that are played on it can be streamed as well. So really neat addition. Then one thing, when you walk in here, you hear music. You're hearing it through this Neptune Game Time music, which, for my first few years, athletes really like music, obviously, when they're warming up. And, there's Spotify and there's Apple Music and there's Google Play and there's YouTube. And, an athlete of a sport, a captain would give me a list of songs, and one of those groups, I'd have to have accounts for all of them to be able to access the music. I'd have to listen to them while I go on a run or something. I'd have to look up the lyrics because I can't tell if there's a bad word or not. It was just horrible for me. And I take it pretty serious to not have. You go to a lot of athletic events. I've been to a lot of places. Some of the music's being played. Amazes me. I want it to be music that the kids like, but just not with bad language, and then also with topics that we shouldn't be covering. So this Neptune music allows us to, have the captains of a team. We send them a link, and there's 35,000 songs. They've gone through them all. They've picked the clean portions of the songs. I mean, it might be a Drake song, but it may only be 12 seconds of it, because that's all you got that's clean. But they can play that 12-second Drake part of that song on warm-ups. The kids like that. So I think, we started that last year, kind of mid-year, and you'll hear that a lot throughout the events. But it saves us time. I'm not stressing that there's going to be a word and things that are played over the intercom that shouldn't be. So we put that under, facilities, because I think it adds to the game day experience, and it's good for the kids. So we want them warming up to stuff they want to warm up to, but for it to be clean. You're going to hear tonight, a few things about, maybe our Jim Wall sponsorship program that we do through corporate sponsors, our spotlight ads that you can take out on your athlete in our programs, the Booster Club and the volunteer opportunities. You're going to hear some of that, and I just wanted to quickly run through, maybe a few things across many sports that it has allowed the athletic department to get. These are just items within the past year that we purchased, and some of these are pretty big items. But it would not be possible if you do not volunteer, for the Booster Club, and do some of those things to help make this possible. So I won't go through them all, but the tennis team, I'm real interested in. There's this, I got this. Basically, it's a serve machine. I don't know if anybody, if any parents of tennis players, but you go out there, a 90-mile-an-hour serve, I guess, that we can try to hit off of. But the coaches are really excited about it. Softball pitching machines. So what we try to do, wrestling mat that we went in half on with the youth wrestling program, try to help all programs across the board. And obviously we have a uniform rotation. There's a couple uniforms down there that are going to be new this year. Junior high girls basketball, soccer there. Put a couple of them up there. Chairs we buy, hurdles, different stuff. So again, you're going to hear some about sponsorships or about you volunteering, and I want you to know it's all going directly back to your kids. And when we walk through this facility, we hear a lot from other places. We have, we've had 4A, 5A, 6A parents from big schools come through here and just are amazed at how, clean and neat and well put together our facilities are. So that's all made possible through your volunteers and the community and the support that we get. I want to show you really quickly the athletic website is not changed as far as it's still weboathletics.com. But we used to use a different software program, basically a different site that helped run it. And there were times where we have a scheduling software program, we have a ticketing program, we have all these different programs. They didn't always talk well together. But, you hear a little bit about EventLink today. EventLink is our scheduling software. For grades 6 through 12, I'm pretty OCD about our schedules, and that's kind of just left for me to handle. and we run all of our schedules through EventLink as far as the team scheduling. And then Mrs. Bales does a lot of helping me with scheduling practices and all that in facilities. But everything's ran through EventLink, and now EventLink has a website option. So we went to that, and it's linked up now. So you'll hear about how to make an EventLink account. And if you do that, you'll be able to see, if you're a parent of a baseball player and a basketball player and a soccer player, you can click those 3 sports, and you can have their game schedules and their practice schedules and where those practices are right on this app on your phone. And then if you want to download that directly to your iOS calendar or your, I don't know, I call it a space phone, Samsung Galaxy space phone. You can drop it into those calendars too, and it automatically updates when we change something. Very slick. So it's also nice for our website, because you can go to sports and just click on whatever sport that you want to go to and see their schedule here, view it. It'll have this week what's going on, which it would just have the practices and events. They're already having events. They're the sport that's already going with events, but it's real clean there. They're also linked directly to Final Forms. So now you just click this button, and it would take you directly to Final Forms as well. So you can log in there. So it's all really very clean for us. And there'll be a section here that'll keep growing called Other Info, and we'll go over a few things that's in that now. But that's where you'll find a lot of things that we'll direct you to. So still WeBoAthletics.com, and they tell me that they're going to make it look fancier at some point, because we can add pictures and things like that, but that's not happened yet. But it's on the way. Let me get back to the PowerPoint here. There is a team store currently. I'll show you that real quick before I go back. It's been out for sometime mid last week or late last week. We got it out. It closes on Thursday, so that we can try to get it in and get it to you for events. But if you go to the Other Info tab, you go to Open Now, and for now you have to copy and paste this into the browser. But when you do that, I've tested all this. I promise it works. It takes you to the site, and then you have a lot of things to choose from. Female apparel first, and there's different colors if you were to click on each of them. None of them are sports specific. They're just Weibo stars, that main logo, and then some of them have WBs on them. But one thing that we added headwear. We get a lot of questions about hats. So if you click on that, you'll have 4 or 5 different color options of hats as well. But you can get this. You could have it sent to your house for I think a $10 charge, or they will bundle it and deliver it to the athletic office, and then I'll put out on Final Forms and social media when it's here. But that is live, and it closes midnight on the 4th, midnight on Thursday. All right. The last thing I want to cover before I give it to Mrs. Bales for a minute, we'll pass it back and forth. But communication in general is, it's real important. I want you to know what's going on. Sometimes I think I could probably on a personal level over-communicate. My wife says that's my love language, and never stop trying to communicate, talk over and over about the same thing, all of that. So try to come up with different ways every year to communicate. And with technology, that's very possible. So, we have WeBoAthletics.com. We added Final Forms a couple years ago. So we have the mass communication there. All coaches should be sending stuff through that to you. Yes, they might have like a reminder, WhatsApp, or some sort of thing that they can send directly to the kids. But Final forms we use. We have everything's Weibo Athletics. You have Weibo Athletics on Twitter. You have Weibo Athletics on Instagram. And then I don't know if you can read that little BAM thing. Jen was real proud of it. It says coming soon. Coming soon, we'll add Facebook. I think historically, before me, there was an athletic Facebook account, but I've always been scared of Facebook personally. I don't have it myself, and so I haven't used it. But a lot of people use it. My wife uses it a lot, and I think from an informational perspective, it's very relevant. So we're going to look to add Facebook, and what we'll do is we'll post a lot of the same things we do on Twitter and Instagram. We'll post to Facebook. And that's basically what it'll be, is a one-sided streaming device for information. We're not going to moderate it and answer a whole lot of questions or any questions through it. If you need to ask questions, contact us still through email or calling or stopping in. But we will add Facebook in the near future as well. So you should have, between all of those different ways, WeiboAthletics.com, Final Forms, all those social media outlets. Jen tried to get me to add TikTok, thought we could start doing some videos in the athletic office. That's not going to happen. She might add it on her own and do it for us, but we'll start with Facebook. But, hopefully you can get the information you need that way. But, can't emphasize enough, and we'll talk about it, but event link accounts, get one within your household. Every parent have it. It's very clean and very helpful. I think I'm going to pass it on to Jen here for a second.
So the TikTok thing was a joke, and he said he wasn't going to say it in front of everybody, but he did. So I'm Jennifer Bales. I'm the person on the other end of your Final Forms account. So when you send in your physicals, whether you upload them, email them, drop them off, I'm the person that clears them. And we're going to talk about physicals in just a minute. But just to reiterate, I know Jeremy has said it several times, I'm going to say it again. It is so, so, so important that your household or each parent has a free EventLink account. We're going to probably say it a couple more times before the end of the night because it is really that important. So. Oh, that's the wrong way. He did mention that if on the website, if you don't have a an EventLink account, you can go to the website and there are step-by-step instructions how to set up your account. The app walks you through it, but I do have screenshots for every step of the way just in case you get lost in their instructions. As Jeremy mentioned earlier, with the WeiboAthletics.com website, we have a direct link to Final Forms, and that is very, very, very helpful. I'm going the wrong way. There we go. It is a direct link. Many times people call my office and they ask me, how do I get to Final Forms? So now we can say, go to the WeiboAthletics.com website and just follow the link. And once you've logged in with your parent profile, you shouldn't have to log in with your parent profile every time. It should be remembered on your device. And now I am going to talk to you a little bit about how we clear your athletes. Every single year that you have an athlete at Western Boone, prior to athletics starting, you need to log into your child's Final Forms account. You need to make sure that all of the demographic information is correct. You need to choose the sports that your child may be interested in participating in. And the reason that's so important is that is how you're going to get information. So for instance, maybe you have a fall athlete who plays soccer and you think your child might play basketball or he might swim, we're not sure. Go ahead and click basketball and swimming both, because then when the time comes for like call out meetings and things like that, you're going to get the information for both of those sports. And then you can decide, or your child can decide which one he or she is interested in, and then you can back the other one out, or the coach can remove the child's name from that roster. But it's so important because that's how you're going to get information. There are a list of about a dozen or so electronic documents. Before final forms, every parent had a thick stack of papers that they had to sign and physically turn into the athletic office. Now we don't do that. We use final forms. So it's important that you go in and you sign electronically each one of those forms. So here at the top, you can see that the forms at the top that are red, and there's a few over there that are green. The ones that are red are not signed. And because they're not signed, this test student at the top, his file's not going to turn green because there's at least one missing electronic signature. But once you have your signatures done and you've turned in a physical and I've cleared it, then when we talk about your child needs to be green in final forms in order to participate, that's what that means. It means you've signed all your documents, you've put your child on a roster, and that you've turned in an athletic physical. So that's what that means. And speaking of the athletic physical, I have to have both of these pages to clear your child. There are more pages. Those pages are important, but the physical examination page and the consent and release form, I have to have. A lot of people only turn in this physical examination form and do not turn in the second form, and I cannot clear your child. So you get an email from me that says, if you're receiving this email, it's because your child's it was incomplete. It's because I need that second form. And there are some students who think they have a physical turned in, and they do, but they don't have the parent form, and I have to have both. On the website, under the Other tab, we've circled the Other Info tab. The first thing at the top is the travel consent. If you've had an athlete here before, you know that we provide transportation to and from events for our athletes. Some coaches will allow athletes to ride home with parents after a game. Some coaches prefer they go home as a team. For the ones who go home after with a parent, you need to log in to this website, go to the travel consent, or you can just bookmark it. I have mine bookmarked on my phone, and you fill out the consent, and it basically just says you're taking your child home. When you do that, it populates on a spreadsheet for that coach so that that coach can look and see who's not going to be on the bus. And that's to be sure that we don't forget somebody. And it's so, so, so important that you do that. Also on the website, there is a link if you want to purchase your athletic passes online. We have that capability. You can buy the pass online with a credit or debit card. If you prefer to pay with a cash or check, then there's also on the website, you can download the form and mail it in. Here tonight, if you've already purchased your passes, I have them for you, and you can come get them. I'll be at the table at the end, and you'll be able to come get them. And if you want to purchase your passes tonight, we can accept debit, credit, or cash or check. And you don't have to do them tonight. You can just take a paper. I have forms out there for you, and you can mail that back in.
And the debit credit option, that's something we've added with the Square. So, lots of times as well, when you've come into the athletic office before, maybe if you've wanted to buy like apparel that we have, a championship shirt that's hanging there, you can now pay with debit and credit. You don't need check or cash. So try to make it more up to speed with the times. Home athletic events, COVID brought us into this electronic ticketing world. We had to do it 1 year due to mandates. Our community there were enough people who liked cash still, that last year we just stayed cash only. We will be cash only at the gate this year. What we will add is the ability to purchase tickets online through EventLink prior to the event, just like you would if you're going to a concert. If you're someone who likes to do that, is comfortable with that technology. You'll purchase it ahead of time, not standing at the gate, but ahead of time. You'd already have it texted or emailed to you. You'd have it pulled up, and you just show it to the ticket taker, and it registers your ticket through Final Form. So just a more visual. So I want to show you. You find that here under tickets. on our website, and you would just go here, and it has all of our fall home events listed. And if you scroll down, if another school uses EventLink, it has theirs too. So you'll see Tri-West uses EventLink, so it's there. Anything that has that black tab, those are away events. Now, North Montgomery uses GoFan, so you need to have a GoFan account to do that. So we're still in that world of, it's not universal. More people are going to EventLink. It is the 100% scheduling software for athletic directors and athletic departments, so I think as time goes on, they're going to want to link everything like we've done because it's cleaner. But all you would have to do, if you want to purchase a ticket to boys soccer against Frankfurt, click on it, click purchase tickets, how many, name, email, confirm email. You can text the receipt to you, click it, comes to you. You can do it that way. You will also always be able to pay by cash, all right? But we won't be swiping debit and credit cards at the gate from a time perspective, from a Wi-Fi perspective, all the issues. That might work real great, if those that live in an environment that maybe has a better signal than we do in some of our locations. So, but there are, like for me, I'm hanging on to my 30s by a thread. My dad, for instance, just doesn't understand. I do not carry cash. He doesn't understand it, His generation, cash. We're in that world right now. Grandparents want cash. Maybe parents want electronics. So trying to hit both avenues while still making it fairly quick at the gate. The advantage, right, to doing this ahead of time is on a Friday night football game, you're not standing in the cash line. Now, if you buy an all-sports pass, none of that matters. So you can do that as well. Current slide. Okay, with so many different groups, there's GoFan, there's Ticket Spicket, there's obviously EventLink, there used to be PayK12, all these electronic ticketing services. I'm pretty sure we've tallied it up. I think Jen sent somewhere in the neighborhood of 360 Final Forms emails last year, because we really tried in this, as this has gotten going, to try to do the legwork for you and send all the ticketing information for like a North Montgomery GoFan event. That is very time consuming for everything else that we have in the athletic department to do. So what we're going to push for is, just like us, these athletic departments have Twitter accounts, they have websites. You're playing at North Montgomery, go to their site, their GoFan links right there, and do it that way, and not expect an email from us every event on what the ticketing situation is. Largely because schools don't tell us. We tell schools, but some schools, from a communication perspective, that's not their love language, so they don't do it as well. So they don't tell us, and we don't want to. We also don't want to drop the ball where, there's an expectation we'll get it to you, and we don't know what it is. So anyway, we found now parents in year 3 of dealing with this start to have an understanding of they need 3 or 4 different. They'll need GoFan. They'll need EventLink. They might pay cash some places, so they kind of gotten a little more used to it. So that's what we'll ask you to do, is go out and search for it. If you have any questions, can't find it, obviously reach out to us, and we'll help. If schools do give it to us, we'll pass it on. I'm not going to withhold it, but it's just hard to try to find it for like maybe 12 events we have in a day. Okay, all right, I'm gonna cover a little quicker, because with Final Forms, you have a handbook on there. You sign off on the handbook to have your athletes participate. This is handbook. A lot of this is handbook items, but to be able to participate in an athletic event or practice, a student has to be to school by 10:45. All right, it's 10:45 on Cammie Sparks' clock, whatever it is on her clock, on her phone that day, 10:45. There obviously are some things that are excused, and notes that apply to those will be fine. But keep that number of 10:45 in mind. I get the question a lot is, does Friday affect Saturday? It does not. Friday has no bearing on Saturday participation. Could have a bearing, like if I'm a coach and you don't show up on Friday, I might not play you. But as far as having to come to school on Friday to play or practice on Saturday, that is not a part of the equation. All right, so that becomes a more of a school or a sports-specific, why were you not there on Friday type of thing. I'm going to go to this arrow. This thing's acting up. The big thing on the academic page, I mean, we really emphasize, we have a Team Pride Award that has 5 criteria that sports try to meet. One of them is a GPA criteria of 3.2 or higher. So that's kind of a benchmark that we try to reach, for our athletes. But one thing just for juniors and seniors as you get up to that age, the academic all-conference cutoff is a 3.72 cumulative GPA, weighted. So your weighted cumulative GPA. So that, just to keep that in mind if athletes would be striving for Sagamore Conference academic recognition. An athlete must pass 5 classes at the grading period to be eligible for the next grading period. We go grading period to grading period. All right, so if not eligible at the end of the first 9 weeks, you have the whole second 9 weeks to get it up. And the first semester and second semester grades supersede the second and fourth 9 weeks. Okay, so it's, when you think of it, it's first 9 weeks, first semester grade, third 9 weeks, second semester grade. Is what we go off of. College-bound athletes, if you have any inkling that your child would possibly even want to consider playing at any level collegiately, there is what we call an Ncaa clearinghouse process that must be completed through guidance. All right. Coach Pelley's the go-to for that. I would just recommend, and the recommendation, even if you don't know, have your athlete do that by their sophomore year. They just go see Coach Pelley. He'll set an appointment. He'll get the clearinghouse stuff done for you. We've had situations where kids don't do it, and then when it comes time their senior year, trying to go through the recruitment process, they haven't done the clearinghouse from an academic perspective. And so go to him. Even if it never happens, even if they never go anywhere, you have it done, and that's one less step later on. Okay, I talked about how small in the conference we are and the success that we've had. That is largely because of our multi-sport participation. I know from a parent perspective that can be very, very difficult, from a time commitment perspective. So we greatly appreciate, those of you that have athletes that play 2 or 3 sports. It is a large part of what makes us successful. We are in a situation right now where for 2 years we're going to be in the lower end of 3A at the high school level. We've been 2A, so we'll be 3A. There's some discussions at the IHSA level on classes and how that might change in the next couple years. Might go to a 5-class system across all sports. Might go to a cutoff where if there's less than 550 kids in a school, they're 2A, like stuff that could benefit us being in 3A. But right now, I know it's something we've pushed to our student athletes over summer in strength conditioning program. Take that as a challenge. Be the first sport in school history to win a 3A regional. Be the first sport to do that. We've had 3A sectional championships when we were 3A before. I don't believe there's ever been a regional. So those are the type of things that, now we challenge them to accomplish. We recognize 3-sport athletes at the high school level with a patch on their jackets, and at the junior high level, when they get 4 seasons, grades 6 through 8, they get their numerals. And then it's fun for you because you get to try to not lose those over the next handful of years before they get their jacket. But we recognize those. We had 40 at the high school level, we had 40 three-sport athlete participants. We dressed them up in their jerseys, made them pose for odd pictures one day at the end of the school year, probably one of the things they didn't want to do. But these are their names. Again, large part of our success. Our summer strength and conditioning program, people come here to see it. Like coaches and PE departments and superintendents and principals, they set up appointments to come to Western Boone to see our weight room, to meet Coach Burke, and to walk through our strength and conditioning program and understand how we do it. They want to know, how do we do it in guidance? How do we get so many athletes participating in strength and conditioning? How do we have the summer that we have? And it is a tremendous flag, for us that we have sailing out there that people pay attention to. And this year, I really put it on the coaches to have some sort of, accountability measure, some sort of motivational factor. Did some things to even prioritize coach participation and coaches coming to it. And we jumped, to be a Breakfast Club member in strength and conditioning, you have to go to 17 of 20. We jumped from 16 girls to 40. And we averaged 57 a day, 57 a session. The boys went from 65 to 68 and averaged 88 a day. I know Coach Pelly's been here 10 years, not seen anything like it. Really believes that our athletes are in the best shape they've been in heading into their fall season, heading into the year ever. And again, that takes a lot of commitment in the summer by them, a lot of commitment by you as parents, and we greatly appreciate it. But we talk about Breakfast Club, but again, when you're talking about an average of 57 girls each time, and the 40 of them, we have a lot that made 14, 15, 16, 17, and they had the fair that they had to go to, or they had, something, they went on a family vacation plus the fair, and they don't make Breakfast Club, but they were at every other one of them. I mean, that's pretty commendable still. So great accomplishment, and we're proud of what we do there. So we appreciate the support on that. Tryouts, coaches make their own teams. The only thing I'll really say about this is, each student athlete should receive 2 days at minimum to try out for any sport. And then from there, the coaches need to communicate with you as parents, communicate with the student athletes on their standing. And we stick to that. Coaches have the prerogative to choose their teams. But you are guaranteed those 2 tryout dates. And obviously, at a school our size, pushing multi-sport athletes, we want as much involvement as possible. Overall, there's not a whole lot of cutting, that's needed. We got programs that keep a lot of kids and keep them involved. So, social media, the only thing I would just say is, in the handbook and in the student athletic handbook, athletes are held to a higher standard. It just is the way it is. When I coached, if one of my athletes were going to post something that another student was going to post, I didn't care what the other student was posting. I cared about what the athlete was posting and how it reflected on my program. From an athletic department perspective, it's the same way. How does it reflect? And from you as a parent, how does it reflect on you? How does it reflect on your family? So we have coaches emphasizing that and having some sort of accountability in place for social media. So if you guys can just help with that on monitoring it, we'd greatly appreciate it. Discipline in the handbook, again, with code of conduct. These are the suspensions, if that would occur. Obviously, the one we deal with the most is first offense. Hopefully, we don't get to a second offense if it happens, but if we have a first offense, it's 30% of a regular season. So it doesn't, if you're doing the math, like basketball, boys basketball plays 22 regular season games, doesn't count the sectional. So you're taking 30% of 22, you're at 6.5 games. That can be reduced to 20% if they come into the athletic office, take some ownership in it on their own, and request to work 8 hours for the athletic department. We'll put them to work at a varsity or at a junior high volleyball match on the clock. We'll have them do laundry. We'll have them do all kinds of things that I'm sure you wish they'd do more of at home yourself. But we'll put them to work if that would happen. Hopefully you never deal with this, but that's how that goes from a discipline perspective. Conflicting events, again, multi-sport, right? Multi-participation. That goes with ECAs too. You get band, choir, FFA, a lot of involvement. Kids doing a lot of things, okay? It's in the handbook that they get to choose. They should have the opportunity to choose between conflicting events. If it's out of season, I would hope that if they have a conflicting event, that if they choose one sport, let's say they're a multi-sport athlete and out of season, they have a conflicting workout. I would hope they would choose one sport the one time and choose the next sport the next time. The coaches would work together and be fine. Okay, what we run into sometimes is, it shouldn't happen because we've moved athletic events off band and choir and all that, but grades would take precedent. Academics first, student athlete, academics first. So if you have something that you're graded on, then that's obviously something that the athlete needs to attend first. But hopefully between coaches communicating, the athlete communicating with coaches, if you'd have to involve yourself in that communication, you can work together and share time. But it is important to note athletes should get to choose that, and not be pressured one way or the other. Quick transitioning to the next sport, just something to keep in mind. Here we don't allow multiple sport participation. And there are some places that do, right? Like they could be the kicker on the football team and play soccer. It's not something at Western Boone that is allowed. So it cannot participate in two sports at the same time. That goes for cheerleading as well. Can't cheer and play basketball. Doesn't work very well anyway, because they're supposed to be cheering at the basketball game. But just, if at the junior high level, sometimes there's an attempt at it, and we need to make sure that we're not conflicting. And so you choose one a season. And then transitioning from sport to sport, you need to finish the season that you're in. Okay, so, if you're a football player going to basketball, you need to finish football in good standing at the high school level. Now, at the junior high level, sometimes it overlaps, right? Wrestling practice overlaps some of basketball season finishing up. And we want those basketball kids to wrestle, but they need to finish basketball first, and basketball practice needs to be the priority. Cannot be missing basketball practice for wrestling practice when they're still on the basketball team. So you finish the sport that you participated in first in good standing and move on to the next one. It's the easiest way to think of it. Okay, parent communication. Obviously, throughout the year, things will come up. You'll have some concerns. Understandable. I have second grade and fourth grade. I'm sure as those kids go up through, I'll have concerns myself as a parent. Need some clarity on things. The athlete may need some concerns, some clarity. We have a hierarchy, kind of a step-by-step process of communication. And we need to follow that, or you'll just kind of get bumped down. Like if you call, think of it from a teaching perspective. If you call into the office, and you want to talk to Mr. Miller about a teacher, the first question he's going to ask you is, have you talked to the teacher? If you call into the athletic office and you ask me, or you want to talk about a coach, or have you talked to the coach? That's how we start it first. And really, you want to take ownership in it and have the athlete talk to the coach first, if that's possible. If not, then the parents step in and join that. Then from there, I'd be brought into it. From there, principal would be brought into it. From there, okay, so we shouldn't be jumping, for instance, from first time, never heard anything about it, to superintendent. Okay? It's not the hierarchy that we go, because Mr. Ramey will bump it back down. So just save yourself some time, go through that. It's looked at and appreciated and respected when you do that greatly between all of us at the administrative levels. If you follow that process, we respect that greatly. So from a sportsmanship perspective, just something to keep in mind, and we don't deal with it. We didn't have any objections last year from parents or anything, but the IHSA did implement a rule this year. IHSA rules we also apply to the junior high level here, being one building. And that is that if you're ejected by an official or by an administration at an event, you will automatically serve a 2-game suspension after that. We've always had something along those lines in place where we were doing that anyway, but it's now a rule that's in place that'll be followed. So I just wanted to make note of it. Again, we had 0 issues with that last year. It's not an issue that we deal with, but just back pocket, when you don't like that call, as all of us go through at some time. Couple other things here just to highlight. We have an athletic ambassador program. It's in our 4th year. Those ambassadors teach lessons of character to our 3rd grade classes. We're only a couple years away from those 3rd graders that were with the first group being in the building, and that'll be pretty neat. I'm doing the math as we stand up here. We may actually be in that this year, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. Nope. Okay, we got next year. Those kids will be in the building, and that's a pretty neat thing. They're also kind of the face of the athletic department. They say our sportsmanship statements before. If we host athletic events, they host teams. And there's a vetting process similar to the National Honor Society that we've adopted, where it's a point system that deals with grades, character, recommendations, all of that gives you a point system that kind of puts you in a certain level to be into that group. But it's gotten very competitive. A lot of kids want to be a part of it, we're proud of it, and we're most proud of what it's doing to build character at our elementary levels and to create that bond between our current high school athletes and our elementary kids. So you'll see them at events. After school placement with COVID, we've had different issues with that where we've been unable to have kids stay. I know towards the second half of last year it opened up a little bit. There really wasn't like an announcement about it, but kids started staying. If there's a bus that leaves at 4:15, those kids can stay. Here, our coaches have been informed that they need to have supervision of those student athletes. But I know from a parent perspective, it can be hard to get them back here by then. So, COVID threw a wrench, in that, and we're kind of back to a little bit more of the norm. The cafeteria will be open after school from 3 to 3:30, Monday through Friday. I believe Mr. Miller's newsletter said Monday through Thursday. Mrs. Taylor will have it open on Fridays as well. So Monday through Friday, 3 to 3:30, to be able to grab things that they would like after school. Okay, we've had, this is something that's come up with COVID a lot. It was always a rule that was in place, but there is a state mandate. The IHSA mandates, again, we run it all the way down to our 6th grade level. But it used to be you'd miss a certain amount of practices, you needed a certain amount of practices to return. With COVID, what started happening is teams started playing with that. Well, if I just don't have practice, then they didn't miss a practice, and then we're fine. I understand that. I mean, it was rough. It's been rough. I get it. But, that was what was happening, and there's a student medical advisory committee that works with the IHSA that really feels if an athlete sits a certain amount of time, COVID or not, that they need some endurance to get back. So they changed it from practices to calendar days. So it's just calendar days missed now in a row. It doesn't include Sundays. So, if you think of it, if they miss 8 to 14, they'll need 4 practices to return to a contest. Anything over 14 in a row would need more. The thing that you need to think of currently, the IHSA, we've communicated with them on it. Many athletic departments have, and some schools are in a worse situation than us with it. But if you looked at spring break, if we don't have a practice on Friday of heading into spring break, okay, you would count. You go Friday, Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. 8. Okay, the entire team would be unable to compete until they had 4 practices in. It's kind of an issue at this point that we have to deal with. Every school does. Some schools are out for 2 weeks for spring break. So you need to keep that in mind. We get to spring, coaches have to do something on that Friday before. And so it's something we just have to deal with the IHSA and work through. But we get into injuries and all this. It still applies. It's always applied to injuries. Just doesn't happen very often. Somebody's out that long, but just keep that rule in mind. Witham Health Services does our sports medicine. We've had a change in late this week on that. Actually, our athletic trainer has left Witham and taken employment somewhere else. So right now, Kayla Haston is going to be our, I guess you could say, interim trainer, but she might be here all year with the fact that from an opening perspective, and most people have jobs at this point. She was going to be, just as a side note, she's going to be Lebanon's second trainer, and so maybe she'll get turned to Weibo and never want to go back to Lebanon. She had a couple gold and black items already. We've given her some of ours. Looks better, So she'll have the opportunity, I think, if she wants to stay, but, they got to work through that. So that's her phone number and email. You'll hear from her through Final Forms if you have injury issues. This is the only COVID slide in this presentation, and because we do still deal with COVID positives. At this point, from a contact tracing perspective and any of that is not happening. But with a COVID positive athlete, when they return to school, so that, if that would be the school policy is 5 days out, they return to school. When they return from that 5 days, then they need to be released by a primary care physician. So if you would have a COVID positive athlete in your household, you would want to immediately set up a doctor's appointment, even during that 5 days while you're out. Get that set up ahead of time, because they're going to need to be cleared before they can start with the trainer. I left the return to play blank because Dr. Kraft's made it clear it might change, could completely go away, don't know. But right now they have to complete a 4-day return to play, and on the 5th day they'd be playing. So when you add all that up, you're looking at 10 days, really, from when they're out of school. The best case scenario, they'd be back then. So long story short, out because of a COVID positive, make a doctor's appointment for that time when you're out of that 5-day window. They're returning to school. Get the written clearance. Give it to the trainer so the trainer can start a 4-day progression. Light work, moderate work, heavy, full practice, and then they're back. That's where we're at right now. And because this is something, we publicize and stuff, I left it blank because it may change as we go, but that's where it's at right now. We do have like a few athletes that had COVID at some point last year who have not done the return to play because maybe they haven't had a sport. They are red in Final Forms right now so that we can catch that. We're talking less than a handful, but that's where we're at on that. Okay, getting close. Ms. Bale's going to come back up for a couple things, and we're going to have Mrs. Kripe talk on boosters, and then we'll wrap it up.
Letter jackets. When your athlete letters in a varsity sport, they are entitled or able at that point to come and purchase a letter jacket. The Athletic Boosters buys the jackets in bulk at $125 a jacket, and the Athletic Boosters then pass that savings directly on to you. They don't mark up the jackets or anything. Jackets are normally a little closer, like $175, $200 a jacket normally, but because we buy in such quantity, they give us a price discount. So if your athlete letters in a varsity sport, then they come see me in the office. I measure them. I have some sizers, and we order their letter jacket. The check is made out to the Athletic Boosters. It's $125 for an athletic jacket. And if you have questions about that, just call me in the office or send me an email. Do you want to talk about corporate sponsorships? Do you want me to? Okay. Corporate sponsorships? Go ahead. All right, so we have opportunities for corporate sponsorships. We have a Jim Wall campaign, which are the diamonds underneath the scoreboard, and they're 32 by 21 inch diamonds, and these stay up all year long. They're on the south wall of the gym. There's wrestling, basketball, volleyball. There's a lot of exposure for these people who have corporate sponsorships. If you are a corporate sponsor and you advertise on the gym wall, you get free advertisement in the 3 program books that we do for fall, winter, and spring. If you are not interested in putting something up on the wall, but you still have a business that you would like to advertise, you can do that. We have those capabilities as well, just in the program book itself. And out on the table, I have some information about corporate sponsorships at all the different levels, if you're interested. And then also in the program book, if you, in high school, if you have a high school athlete and you would like to spotlight that athlete, you have that opportunity. And this is how we pay for our roster books, to be frank. We rely on ad space, as anybody in any magazine. You rely on ad space to cover the cost of the program. And if you've seen the books, they're pretty nice. They're roster books. There's photographs. There's ads. It's really they're pretty nice books. And I am going to turn it over. Do you want to do a drawing? We're going to do a drawing. Amber, would you pull one? Okay, so we're going to do a total of 3 drawings. We're going to do 2 right now, and we're going to do 1 at the very end. So get your red tickets out. We are giving away a family sports pass. So if your name is drawn, you'll come up and you'll take one of the certificates for the family sports pass. If you've already purchased your passes, then the athletic department will write you a check to reimburse you for the cost of your pass if you've already gotten it. So the winner of the first family pass is ticket number 974132. Who is it? Who is it? Yay! All right, so you'll just take one, and I believe you guys have already purchased your passes, so we will write you a check. So just hang on to that. And the next pass number is going to be 974078. Fantastic. All right, you can come down and get your certificate, and we'll do the last one at the very end.
I know it's not quite the Mega Millions, but
Yeah, it's not, yeah, it's a family. It's worth $180, or yeah, $200 actually. It's worth $200. So, good deal.
I can click it if you want.
Yep, perfect.
Yep, you just tell me.
Okay. All right. I'm Amber Kripe, and I have recently taken over as athletic booster president. Here are all of our members. And what the boosters does is we fundraise all of the money that goes directly back to those athletes that purchase those things Mr. Dexter showed us earlier, like your 90-mile-an-hour tennis machine. So that is what we do, and it's without the support of all of the donations that you guys give to the boosters, we would not be able to do that. So this is just a little bit about some of the things that we purchase. It's the supplies for the athletic trainer. It is the awards, the certificates, the trophies, everything that they get at the end of the season, and things throughout the year as well. There are multiple ways for you to help the boosters, and this is how we do it. One, it's actually I'm gonna have you go one more, and I'll kind of a little backwards, but one is to just join the athletic boosters. There is, for those that had a name up there that had a caller or a closer position, which I'll talk about here in just a second, those are the people that might come to a meeting and participate in the bulk of what are we going to do to raise the money. But otherwise, there is a table out here. We have an athletic booster table. It is a form, and it is to be part of the members. It's a donation to the athletics, and we appreciate that. You can take a form. If you do sign up tonight, we're giving out WB yard signs. So if you decide to donate tonight to the athletic department and the athletic boosters, then you can take that with you. And it starts at $10, and it can go up from there. It's just whatever you feel called to donate. The second is volunteering. If you get an email, we have a designated caller for each group, and I will just, so for instance, the junior week, that caller is April Shepard, and she will email all of the parents and guardians that have an email address in Final Forms, and that's another thing that Final Forms is used for. We get that list, and the caller will send out and say, hey, it's senior week, here is a link to Sign Up Genius, go on out and sign up if you can. I can tell you, like, and you can go one more if you want to go to that. Senior week only has one event, it's one concession, but then in 2 weeks, maybe freshman week might have 4 events. That is where you guys can help us out, and you don't have to be the paid, member as far as that donation. You don't have to do that to volunteer. I guess I should. Those are 2 separate ways. If you are able to take tickets, or you can work a concession stand, again, it's all done through Sign Up Genius, but you will get this voucher. This is how I actually purchased my daughter's letter jacket. There are ways on the back, so it's $10. You can use it at the concession. You can buy your spotlight ad. So it is a voucher that can be used in various ways. And like I said, they're just detailed out on the back and how you can use it. So you can just save them up and use them, like I said, for letter jacket, or most nights if I'm working the concession, it turns around and my kids use it for the concession. So we appreciate anybody that volunteers, because without you guys, we wouldn't be able to open up concessions or have tickets. And we do have an opportunity, if anybody is interested in helping with concessions as a closer, see me afterwards. Let's see, what else do we have? Yep, here we go. So, what is it? Let's see, concession stands. Sports teams, you might get a side email. For instance, this past year we paid out $4,600 to just the sports themselves. So to get some of the concession workers, if it's a night for volleyball, it might be 5 workers, and it might be a football night. So football, somebody will send out an email and say, hey, it's football nights to run the concession. Those can be football players, they can be football parents, they can be football siblings. As long as there's 1 adult, 2 adults, depending on the night, that's the money that will go right back into that department. So for basketball, there was a basketball night, whoever worked, that money might go right into the girls' player pack, or it might go to the whole, team. Each team does it a little bit different on how they do that, but that is another thing that we do. We just assign all the sports a night to help in the concessions, and we turn around and give money right back to those teams individually. So that's how we do it. That's where we get the money to turn it back over to the athletes. So if you have any questions, though, you can always ask me. You can always ask Jeremy and Jen. They can give us your information if you'd like to help at all. So thank you.
Again, the Booster Club, the athletic department's fully self-sufficient, its own entity in regards to, all of that, those things that we're able to get the athletes, and the Booster Club's a large part of it. But it is, like she said, quite a wrench in a evening, if we don't have volunteers that are able to take tickets or concessions. And for instance, if you go to an event and the concession stand's closed, how frustrating that is. And we're pretty fortunate here where step up and do it, but lots of times it is to be honest, it can be at times our executive board that really carries a lot of the weight. And so if you're willing to step in and help and be a volunteer for them, that would go a long way for the athletes. Now, I'm going to introduce Jen for this, okay? There are people who, this might be the most important item in the entire presentation, okay? And we used to have a lot of slides that had like some cartoon cars and stuff, and we're trying to make it quicker. But the bottom line is, Jen's going to just talk as somebody who, from the athletic department, but also has been a parent who's kind of dealt with this situation in the circle, and just kind of the etiquette that we would appreciate when picking up student athletes.
Would it be a parent meeting if we did not talk about the athletic circle? So, do I have a pointer? Okay, I don't have a point. Oh, there. Okay, I'm not going to use it. This is the athletic circle. The drive. That is where we park. Please do not park in the circle itself. Even if you're waiting on your child, you're going to park right at the front of the drive, and then you watch for your child to come out of the building, and then you pull out, you go pick up your child, and then you can exit. When you park in the circle, it is congested. And a lot of times during pickup and drop-off times is also when a school bus is trying to pick up athletes or bring athletes back from an event. And those buses, I see Kristen shaking her head. She's like, yep. Those buses cannot safely maneuver in that circle if there are cars parked in the circle. And also, if you do need to pull up and pick up your child and you park in front of that sidewalk that comes out of the school that we lovingly call the hot zone or the loading zone, if you do need to park there for a moment while your child is loading or unloading, as soon as it's done, please move forward so that the people who are waiting in line can still see their kids come out of the building. You know, you laugh, but I took these pictures. And so did Kylene. I just threw Kylene under the bus. These pictures are old. I don't know that any of these cars even go to school here any longer. But so these are all taken from the vantage point of that first parking spot down the lane where I've asked where we're supposed to park. So obviously you can't see. I've blocked out their license plates. So yeah, you can't see the kids coming out of the building. And in that top picture, they've actually made two circles, like an outer circle and an inner circle. That's chaos. We don't do that. And then there in the bottom, that red truck at the bottom, there's nobody in that truck. Somebody had pulled up, got out of their truck, came into the building, and just left their truck there. And so, again, that's not allowed either. So we just ask for you to be mindful. At those really heavy pickup times, myself and my family, my kids all drive, but before they did, sometimes I would just park out in the parking lot and text my kid and say, hey, I'm in the second row. And that way you don't have to worry about safety in the parking lot. But we joke about it, but it honestly really is a serious issue of safety first. Yep.
There is